Very
absolutely
much so.
paralyzing.
Very much so.
And
Yeah.
that's what they
Before
do
you even fail, you're paralyzed.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what they do in communist countries. They rule by fear. And so oftentimes that fear can overtake you and it makes it very, very difficult. All these thousands of hours that you've practiced, you're not able to necessarily put all of that out there because the fear stands in the way.
So what better profession than nursing? Because you deal with sick and dying people, so you better focus on their needs and their loved ones' needs. All right. And the other attractive thing was that nursing didn't require 11 more years of college.
Right.
The society needs nurses so bad that I could do it in 2, 3 years and have a new profession. And then I figured, okay, so I'm very busy as a nurse now, night shifts, but I need to do something productive with my free time. And I decided to learn finance and real estate investing.
Mm-hmm.
So my days were crazy busy again, but it worked because I bought mentorship. I knew nothing about real estate. I had been a tenant for 14 years when I bought my first fourplex.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in business now for 11 years, very successfully. It might take a little bit different speed, but it should never discourage you because remember that I was in my 30s when I decided to change careers. And since I had practiced a career for 26 years, that's where most people think about retirement. And I was barely starting as a professional.
Yeah.
If I could do it, you can do it.
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using Newcalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Alexandra Dotcheva, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we'd love to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then we want to talk about this amazing book that you wrote. We want to talk about your coaching and your public speaking and everything you're doing to help change the world from a holistic self-confidence standpoint. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mike, so much for having me. And thank you for everything that you do, for letting people speak about their experiences and encouraging other people to improve their lives in spite of circumstances. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. So where were you born?
I was born in Bulgaria, as a matter of fact. And we
Did you
lived
grow up there?
Kind of. So I was there until age of 3. Then we moved to Mexico for 3 years, where my father played in the Philharmonic of Mexico City. Then, unfortunately, my mother felt nostalgic, so we all went back in 1982. It was still socialism, communism, and they realized their mistake very quickly. I have described this in chapter 10 with relation to real estate and the way they couldn't get at the apartment of their dreams at all during that time. And then I came to the States in 2000 as a student. But yeah, I pretty much grew up in Bulgaria for the most of my teenage childhood.
So what was your favorite thing about growing up in Bulgaria?
Probably, well, it's hard to say because there were so many problems growing up. The favorite thing was probably, in hindsight, the focus that my parents instilled in me towards what I did, because I was a violinist before I did everything what I do now. And they taught me how to work hard and be responsible. I think that was the most valuable part of my growing up in Bulgaria. Well, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful country, beautiful nature and all that. I was a great hiker. I always hike the mountains to relieve my mind from the responsibilities of, living with a professional musician and a renowned music critic. That was my mother. But I was always programmed to leave Bulgaria. Ever since they realized their mistake from going from a very well-developed country, which Mexico was at the time, okay, to Bulgaria. And I kept being programmed, you have to be a great violinist to get out of Bulgaria and create a better life for yourself.
That's awesome. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Well, my parents, of course, and certain friends of theirs who were amazing musicians and professionalists and public figures. really work ethic was everything, and integrity for them. And they worked in spite a lot of challenges in during the regime and after that, because I'm not sure how much your audience is familiar with the falling of the communist regime in 1989, early 90s, but we didn't take democracy very well. People thought democracy was all about freedom and do whatever you want. They didn't realize that with freedom comes tremendous amount of responsibility. So our country never took over the way never did take off the way the Czech Republic did, Slovakia, Hungary, all these other countries that really developed themselves very nicely after the change. And we're still struggling to the present day in Bulgaria to overcome special interests, mafia, and really groups that overtook the country financially, and big corruption. we know something about corruption here too, but on a such smaller scale, it's much more impactful with the small people.
Yeah. So you went to high school in Bulgaria?
High school and conservatory up to my bachelor's degree. I earned my bachelor's degree in violin performance in Bulgaria. And then I came to the United States in 2000 to earn my master's and doctoral in violin.
Oh, awesome. So in Bulgaria, when you were in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
In fact, biology was my favorite subject, which was funny because I was in a specialized music school from the 1st through the 12th grade. So we learned very little, if any, science. It was all music oriented. So I came out of school pretty handicapped about other objects and subjects and common sense in life. But biology, I love biology. I raised spiders in jars in a very little one bedroom that my parents and I were sharing. They were very tolerant. They allowed me to have jars with spiders on the balcony to experiment with them, grow babies and all that. So because we couldn't have a pet, it was a very small room where we were at. And so I loved the experiments and reading books, which maybe could have precipitated my current career as a registered nurse.
Oh, that's cool.
But, yeah, so this was an interesting, weird thing that biology was my favorite subject, being a musician.
Did you have a favorite teacher in high school?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really. There were several that I respected and many that I didn't. I was a very rebellious child, so...
So you go to college. Did you have a choice of where you went to college, or were you sort of told where you were going?
So it was the Conservatory of Music, because when you specialize as a musician for 12 years, then you really aspire to be admitted at a conservatory. I apologize for the F-35 fly on top of the house sometimes. If you hear that, that's what it is. But the conservatory was a big deal because there was a very heavy entry examination that you prepare for really 12 years, very competitive. And then you graduate from the conservatory 4 years later, and you realize you're really not prepared for life at all. And then you really strive to get out of the country if you didn't make it by then, if you didn't succeed. So it worked out okay, but it was stressful because my challenge was really stage performance. I was very well prepared. I used to practice, like I said, work ethic was something that was instilled in me for a very young age, but I was practicing between 9 and 11 hours a day in a practice room. And that's how you do if you want to be a professional musician. It's like a sports person, competitive sports. But the manifestation of your practice doesn't always reflect on stage, because the responsibility of, did I practice well enough? Did I practice long enough? Did I practice correctly? And if you have really a lot of self-criticism on top of the criticism of your parents and teachers, that can backfire if you take it the wrong way, which is exactly what I did when I was young, because I was very immature and I didn't know how to handle criticism very well.
And fear of failure just can paralyze people. Absolutely.
Very much so. Very much so.
And that's what they do.
Before you even fail, you're paralyzed. Yes.
Yeah, that's what they do in communist countries. They rule by fear. And so oftentimes that fear can overtake you, and it makes it very, very difficult. All these thousands of hours that you've practiced, you're not able to necessarily put all of that out there because the fear stands in the way. And the thing that we fear the most is the things we don't know.
Right.
Exactly.
So like how your body would react on stage, for example.
Exactly. We were literally just talking about this last night. Yeah. I'm not joking. I'm actually in Palo Alto. We're recording this on June 4th, and I'm in Palo Alto. Last night I was invited up here to give a toast at the year-end party for a public speaking class at Stanford University. And I was invited by one of the professors to come up. And one of the things that I told them was, I said, if you get stage fright, one of the things you can do is you can literally decide that you're going to love the audience more than you do yourself.
Yes.
And if you do that, you won't have stage fright. It goes away because you're now pouring your love into that audience, right?
Exactly.
You're not
Exactly.
thinking about how you look. You're not thinking about making mistakes. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just thinking about bringing it. And you're thinking about bringing it for them, for their value. And one of the professors said that he wrote down what I said and he's going to use it, which was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Put your ego in the back and focus on who is in front of you.
just
But
love them.
I didn't know this when I was so young, though. I
Oh,
didn't know
absolutely.
that. And it was
Absolutely.
really about presenting the best of myself, and it was just extremely frustrating many
Well,
times.
if you think about it, you pouring into your audience, you on stage pouring out your heart to your audience is a way for you to inspire young people to do what you're doing. It's a way to inspire other people that are older that maybe just need to escape for an hour or two, right? Maybe they just need what it is that you're delivering. And it's, I mean, when you start listening to the kind of music that you played, it's therapy. It's
It is. It can be
absolutely
therapeutic.
true that
True.
music soothes the savage soul, right? The savage beast. It is what it literally does. There are all kinds of studies out there where they played that type of music to some of the meanest, most dangerous animals on the planet, and they just become mush. So what you're bringing has so much value. And what a lot of these instructors could do that would be a better practice would be to share that with their students so that when their students are in these recitals, because I used to be one of those. I used to be on stage in recitals. I played violin, I played piano, I was in the choir.
Exactly.
I did all those
Fantastic.
things as a youth, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody pulled me aside and said, "Hey, think about what it is you're doing here. Think about the value you're bringing." Nobody ever did that. They just looked at me and said, "Don't screw this up."
Right.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
right?
I know that. I'm familiar with that.
Right?
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, it makes it tough to take the stage when you're so concerned about potentially making a mistake. But if you let that go and you just love the audience, everything else takes care of itself. It all does, I promise you. So we were literally just talking about that last night. So in the toast I gave them two pieces of advice. The one I just told you about stage fright. The other one was that they should take, because a lot of them are young, they should take a piece of paper, blank document, and they should write on, word processor, okay? They should write at the top in the largest font they can, stay in curiosity. And at the bottom, in the largest font they can, stay out of judgment. Print it and then put it up where they work so that they see it every day, several times a day. Because we need the reminder that we need to be curious about each other. We need to not talk at each other. We need to be asking about each other. Does that make sense?
Of course, it makes sense. It's just challenging for a teenager who is entirely consumed with herself or himself, because the teenage mindset, okay? We don't really think about the way others perceive us other than from our own egotistical standpoint.
Right.
And I did have a couple of teachers who implied the same as you did when I was young, but it felt too late because I was so ingrained into the stage fright and the sense of guilt of not practicing the way I probably should have practiced. And in fact, it was too early. I was really immature to understand that. I thought it was too late because when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, a 20-year period seems like a huge amount of time that has passed because that's all you know. And from a standpoint of somebody who's 45, 50 years old, even 35 years old, they know, oh, okay, you were immature. It was too early for you to grasp these concepts. So you had to break your head really hard several times to finally understand that these people speak from experience. And perhaps you should take that experience seriously and internalize it, which is the most challenging part when you're young and inexperienced.
Totally agree.
Oh,
Totally agree. So you leave Bulgaria to pursue your master's degree in the U.S. Where in the U.S. did you go to school?
So I earned a master's and doctorate at LSU, Louisiana State University.
Okay.
Then I moved to Syracuse, New York, because I won an orchestra position where I played in the Syracuse Symphony until they bankrupted in 2011.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because the bankruptcy started from 2006 in America through 2008, the financial crisis, because see, the government here doesn't support its orchestras the way they do in Germany, Italy, and other European countries. And thankfully, I had the insight and courage to see the writing on the wall in 2008. And that's when I put myself through nursing school, okay?
Oh, wow.
That's where my life changed, because I got sick of being not confident and not being useful to society as a musician the way I could be somewhere else, because I felt that my brain could learn much more than music, even though I had done music 26 years at the time. That was 2008. And I wanted to put the fear behind and really find ways to be useful in ways that I can completely forget about my ego. So what better profession than nursing? Because you deal with sick and dying people, so you better focus on their needs and their loved ones' needs. All right. And the other attractive thing was that nursing didn't require 11 more years of college. Right. The society needs nurses so bad that I could do it in 2-3 years and have a new profession. Yeah. So, Syracuse, New York, and the crisis and everything. And that's how it all started with the life change.
So it was a real pivot time. So how long? So you've been in nursing ever since?
Since 2011, I've been a nurse, and since 2014, a very successful real estate investor.
Oh my goodness. So what made you decide to get into real estate investing?
Because working night shifts, I realized that the burnout rate and the way nurses were treated by the corporations that were devouring hospital after hospital after hospital, I knew that there should have been a better strategy for me, because I thought once I have a full-time job, I will be very successful, and which is true to an extent, but I saw how the older nurses looked, and even nurses who were younger than me, because remember, I was 35 when I entered the workforce as a nurse, and that's really late. There were nurses in their 20s that had already been nurses 5-6 years, and they looked like crap because they never took care of themselves. I saw healthcare professionals carrying every disease down to man, teaching patients how to live healthy and how to change their lives, and that really made no sense at all, because I have always been very dedicated to health. I did martial arts for 12 years intensely. I'm a fitness freak, and I am a whole foods organic vegan. Okay. So because I have to lead by example if I'm to teach anybody to live healthy, and looking at these people and doctors and nurses, like, why are you guys eating and doing these things, and you're teaching your patients stuff and you have no credibility? Because the second the doctor gets out of the room, the patient says, his breath smells of smoke. He's smoking, and he's telling me, the lung cancer patient, that I shouldn't smoke. What kind of a doctor is that? So we lose credibility as healthcare professionals all over the place, okay, because we don't lead by example. So that was the one thing. And then financially wise, because job security, I learned, was a myth. Lots of people were quitting because of burnout. They wouldn't endure more than 10, 15 years or even 5 years. And some people quit after 2 years of being nurses, because they were told, oh yeah, you're going to be very appreciated as a nurse. Nurses are needed. But, well, guess why they're needed, idiot? Because people don't want to do the job. You'll be understaffed. You'll be overworked. And then I figured, okay, so I'm very busy as a nurse now, night shifts, but I need to do something productive with my free time. And I decided to learn finance and real estate investing. So my days were crazy busy again, but it worked because I bought mentorship. I knew nothing about real estate. I had been a tenant for 14 years when I bought my first fourplex. And I've been in business now for 11 years, very successfully. And I just know people have to change periodically and make themselves more stressed and learn more. And the more you do things that you're afraid of, the less fear you have.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it all started with changing the profession from music to nursing, and then adding the real estate and stretching my imagination and goals and everything. And then it just became like a piece of cake.
So how many doors are you up to now?
How many doors? What do you mean?
How many units? How many units do you own?
Well, quite a few. I have apartments. I have single-family houses. I own most of my properties free of debt too. But we first paid our own house off, okay? Because in addition to the real estate, I also learned how to trade options. I found this very attractive way to earn cash, to make cash flow, if you're smart about it. So before I did anything, Mike, it's very important. Mentorship. I sought mentors. And the mentors I sought were not some academics that, taught at universities, because these people depended on jobs to make ends meet. And I already had that. I sought the advice of self-made millionaires.
Practical knowledge.
Because I wanted somebody who was very rich, but started from nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I found 2-3 such people. I paid to them for mentorship and I followed their advice. Of course, my situation was different, but I realized I shouldn't use this as an excuse for not changing my life. I can use my situation in congruence with my values and goals, and it still worked. It will work no matter what if you put your mind into it. But certain things involve a lot of risk, like putting your money into options or real estate investing. And people say, oh, it's too risky. No, the investment is not risky. People are risky if they don't know what they're doing. But if you're willing to learn, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop your progress.
No, I agree. I agree 1000%. That's awesome. So when did you get out of nursing?
Oh, no, I'm still a nurse.
Oh, you're still a nurse. Okay.
I can stop working at any time. I have been able to stop working already for 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. But you got to stay useful to society somehow. I added the coaching business because after I published the book, people said, I want you to coach me now because the book is great, but I want more advice. Well, the book, if you do the book, you will not buy advice, but well, they want advice. Fine. Got the coaching business going. But as far as the healthcare system and nursing, I am in a very advantageous position as a nurse because I do home care nursing. So I go from home to home and I have the luxury, if you will, to educate the patient one-on-one on real health and how they can change their health and get out of the healthcare system and stop being an asset to the healthcare system if they're willing to listen. Okay. Yeah. So I give everybody this chance, and some people are very curious, others are completely shut to advice, and we don't bother each other. I just do what I have to do with the patient to help them get through the day.
Right.
Also you learn a lot about the developments in healthcare through the patients, because you learn a lot in school, but then the real life job with the patients, with your clients, they tell you what happened in the hospital, what didn't happen in the hospital. You read all these reports and like, okay, so this is what they're doing now, and you stay current. I think this is important in the country where so many changes are happening now in healthcare. So I can make better choices when I get older because I'm pushing 50 now. So I won't be young forever, right? And we need to stay as far away from hospitals as possible. That's my personal conviction. And staying involved as a nurse is a very good way to do that. We'll see how much longer I'll do it. If I get really frustrated with the system, I'll quit probably. But right now I still have a lot of energy and can do that for a little longer.
So at some point you decide to write a book. Talk about that process, because there are people that are listening to this that are thinking about writing a book and they're not sure, or they just haven't taken that step. Talk about the mindset. What made you decide that you were going to write it? And then ultimately what made you write the book?
Questions from mostly relatives and friends who knew how insecure I used to be for over 2 decades. And then they saw my business is flourishing, my career flourishing. And I said, how the heck did you do that? And my shape, my fitness shape, they're familiar with it because they've seen videos of me doing like all these pull-ups and dips and crazy things that most women at the gym never venture to do. And I told them, well, I have a system. Well, what is the system? Okay, so there is the topic for a book. Okay, so I started writing. It took 6 months. Then I edited it for 1.5 years because I'm not a native speaker. I had to make sure, it was presentable in English. And the book is the system I really used in all of my life aspects, experience-wise. I put it in the book and it's very well organized because what I did with my health, I did the same with my career, with my finances, and with my relationships, and with my spiritual beliefs. So it's the same approach you apply to these simple aspects of life, and you don't neglect a single one of them, and your life takes over and flourishes.
So the title is It Really Is Simple, a holistic approach to self-confidence.
Yes, that's right.
A practical guide.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's easy always, but keeping it simple is a challenge in itself sometimes.
Gotcha.
But
when we come back, we're going to talk about, when we come back, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the single most important thing you learned writing this book and the top 3 things that readers can take away from reading the book. We'll be right back. Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com. And it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today. And we're back with Alexandra Dotcheva. Can you tell us what the number one thing is that you learned writing the book? And then what are the top three things people will learn from reading it?
The top thing I learned from writing the book was it changes your personality.
Mhm.
You express your beliefs in the book, in your experience, and you organize it very well. And that makes you even more responsible to yourself.
Right.
Because I was very diligent with all of my systems and everything. Otherwise, I wouldn't have succeeded to get to where I am right and make myself independently wealthy. But once you write the book and put it out there into the world, then there is no question that you will do exactly what if you were doing it 98% of the time, now you really want to do it 100% of the time, because you've put yourself out there and you want to be even better example to people and lead by example and not compromise your integrity. That's what I learned from writing the book. That was the biggest take away from me. The three takeaways for readers, well, let's see. You can do it at any time. Well, I hope you don't start when you're 70, but even if you're 70, if you decide that you want to have good quality of life for 30 more years, because I have had patients who have
Never too late to
years
start.
old.
It's never
Right.
too late to start.
Right. It might take a little bit different speed, but it should never discourage you, because remember that I was in my 30s when I decided to change careers. And since I had practiced a career for 26 years, that's where most people think about retirement. And I was barely starting as a professional.
Yeah.
If I could do it, you can do it. That's the number one takeaway. The second very important point is that you cannot prioritize one aspect and neglect all other four aspects of your life, because your life will not progress the way you want it to progress. If you're working like a dog and neglecting your health and putting it off, you will end up being my patient or a patient of a colleague of mine, and you don't want that. You don't want to be there. You have to be absolutely adamant about elevating your health, spirituality, career, finances, and relationships all at the same time. You put yourself a tremendous responsibility to constantly stay vigilant in these five aspects of your life. But this is how you make the real progress, because I constantly deal with people who either neglect their health, or if they're focusing on their health, their finances are horrible and they're under constant stress, so their health doesn't last very long. And then the third factor, relationships. They take influence from people who really might be well-intentioned, but have no clue about what they're talking about. And then we listen to the wrong people and we stay where we are for 15 years and never make progress. And the third takeaway is techniques. You have to create techniques to implement mental techniques. It's really about mindset in every aspect of your life. And you have to have a mental routine with your health, with your spirituality, with your career, with your finances, and with your relationships to keep yourself on track. Because it's easy to get inspired for a month or two. The hard thing is to keep it, to maintain it, okay? Like you see all these people starting on a diet and then changing to a different diet because they can't keep the course. And that's why you have tons of different diets basically for the same type of people, okay? So systematic pursuit of health optimization, relationship prioritization, wealth building, and the career and the wealth are two different things. And people confuse the two, right? The career is how you stay useful to humanity. The finances, how you make yourself so well off financially that you can choose to work or not to work as you please. Okay. So the system explains all that: freedom of choice, responsibility of choice. And this is all the book is all about, and how to really overcome poor self-esteem and lack of confidence. It's the main focus, because I just went through this for over 2 decades. And I completely admit freely, it was mostly self-inflicted, 90% self-inflicted, because what we do to ourselves, nobody can do it to us.
Yeah. 1000%. Okay. So you wrote the book, and then people started approaching you about coaching. Talk about that for a second, and talk about what the single most important or single most fulfilling thing is about being a coach.
Well, It's fulfilling when you see that you change people's lives. You help people change their lives. I mean, I cannot change your life. I help you. I even cannot tell you what you should do, but I can suggest what you can do. I can tell you what I did and help work together what would work best for you. But there are certain principles in health, career, and relationships and finances that are really, you can't improvise too much with them because it either works or it doesn't work. Okay.
Right.
There is tons of research on wealth building. There is even more research on health. And if you argue with me that certain foods, well, yeah, you can get by with certain foods and still be healthy, I'll tell you, no. You either, you really want to establish that principle, because if you think about food, one of the biggest temptations in life, okay, so if you learn to tailor your appetite only towards really healthy organic food that is uncontaminated by any drugs from the industry, any chemicals. It limits your choices of food, but actually it expands your choices if you choose the right food class. Okay. So with that type of discipline, you will be able then to control your money habits. That's the other big temptation in life, how you control your money habits, how you build the financial discipline to create these long-term tangible assets that create the cash flow that give you the choice to work or not to work. Yeah. It's all very connected, and it's all about mindset. So if you neglect the discipline in one aspect,
into your confidence, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly. Because the more you build your integrity based on personal responsibility, accountability, and discipline, the more confident you become, because you solve your problems one by one. You don't chase some other problems without solving your current problems first. Because if you can't solve your current problems, forget about solving other people's problems, solving anything else, or building anything if your current life is a complete mess. Yeah. And that is the biggest reward when people understand, okay, so I really need to face my own crap here at home and start one thing at a time. And in 2 weeks, they have accomplished this and this and this, X, Y, and Z. And that's fantastic. Now let's clean up something else here. Okay. And let's work on that, because the program is 12 weeks. So we focus at a life aspect for at least 2 weeks at a time. Because there's an extensive assignment, there's a lot of reading involved and writing, and then brainstorming to realize what their real goals are and not what other people's goals are for them. That's a big challenge. And if I manage to break that mindset of, oh, is it going to upset mommy or daddy or my husband? If we break that mindset to not worry about upsetting other people, but really prioritizing your own goals for the sake of your own well-being, that's a big victory. It's not always easy to achieve, but that's my mission, to really help them understand there's no sense to feel guilty for advocating for yourself, and especially in front of yourself, mostly, because usually you're your worst enemy. It's not your environment.
You build your best life, right? You build your best self. Yes. And one of the best things about it, I mean, there's a reason when you're on an airplane, they tell you that when the oxygen masks drop, or if they drop, put yours on first and then help somebody else.
Pay yourself first.
Yeah, you've got to be in a place to where you can take care of your loved ones. I had a health scare several years ago now, and I ended up losing a bunch of weight. I ended up changing all kinds of things because I had to. And they literally said to me, they said, where you're headed, you're going to die early. You're not going to be around to see your grandkids. You're not going to be around to walk your daughter down the aisle. All those things that are life events that you want to be here for when you're a parent, and you want to be here, right, to check off your bucket list and do all that, right?
That's right. That's right.
You've got to focus on you. And this sort of loop that I had in my head that was an absolute lie was that I had to go take care of everybody else. And if I had time and somewhat of a desire, I could take care of myself. I was way at the very end of the deal. I was way at the back of the bus. I mean, I was not a priority. Now I'm a priority, and it's a completely different feeling, different confidence level.
Of course.
Entire thing, right?
Of course. Yes.
So how does it feel to know that you were on stage almost paralyzed by fear, and now you've come full circle to where you're completely confident and you're actually helping people that are paralyzed by fear get over it? That's got to feel like life has come full circle for you.
It does. And it's nice to really be useful with your negative experience to other people in a positive way, right? I was also a little bit nervous when I first started interviewing, because my publisher said, listen, this book It's not going to sell unless you come forward and start talking about it. So I said, I am not at the same level anymore with my mindset, so I'll be able to talk to hosts. And the first year was, of course, a little bit nerve-wracking, but I did it regardless. And I built the confidence because I already know if you fear something, you just do more of what you fear. And the fear goes away.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always a responsible event to talk face-to-face with somebody and share valuable experience in a way that others can relate without offending them too much. But it is a full circle, but it's still work in progress.
Yeah.
Because you can never get good enough with your message. And there are so many different people, different cultures, different perspectives, different experiences. So for you to get under the skin of every student, mentee that approaches you for help, you really have to respect their situation and the origins of their insecurities and fear without succumbing to that, because you don't want to feed into that, but you have to respectfully approach it and see how you can best help them reverse it.
Yeah.
In their own way.
Agree.
Because the thing is, like, take something like the Silva mind control method, for example. They have these fantastic things that you can tell yourself when your brain is in the alpha level with lower vibrations. And some of the mantras, so to speak, work great, but others you have to find your own words because you have to draw from your experience. And people reprimand themselves from not being able to make certain methods work for them. But then I tell them, listen, the method works, just make it your own. Because you have your own words, and as a child, you were having your own language before you were able to understand the language that your parents were speaking. You were creating words as a child. And if you still remember these words, maybe, just maybe, you can dig into that part of your brain, because you never really ever forget anything while you're alive. It's just that your brains put it in storage, okay? Right. And how much you pay for that storage, that's, also up to you. How many things you can recall and why would you recall them? But you can make many, many systems work for you if you break them through your own experience without letting the experience drag the system and allow it to help it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Totally makes sense.
So
go ahead.
It's a journey to realize what the person in front of you is doing. But if you get them to believe themselves that they can do it, then your job as a coach is easy.
Yeah. Well, it's got to feel good. It's got to feel good that you've lived this life, that now your life experience is now an instruction for somebody, and you're helping people transform their lives. That has to be incredibly fulfilling. I mean, obviously you're never done, but that's a really, really big deal. So the name of your book is, it really is simple, A Holistic Approach to Self-Confidence. Now, people can get it at Amazon. Are there other places they can get your book?
So the ebook is available on Amazon, Apple Books, Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, and the physical copy, the paperback, is available on my website along with the ebook. The price of the ebook is the same everywhere, all these platforms, but the paperback is on my website, and it's available in the US only. We ship it to the US. We just figured that the shipping costs for abroad was like very, very expensive. So we put the electronic version there, which is the same exact book. Much less expensive and downloadable anywhere in the world.
Well, what's your website address?
holisticselfconfidence.com.
Okay. Holisticselfconfidence.com.
No dashes, no dots, just holisticselfconfidence.com.
All together. Okay. Are you speaking? Are you available?
I do. I do speak. I've been approached a couple places. Not always able to travel long distances, depending on what I'm doing here with the properties and everything. But yes, I am available for speaking. If I can be useful that way, that's perfectly fine with me.
So if somebody's looking for coaching, they're looking for you to come speak at their event, that kind of thing, how can they get a hold of you?
Through the website. There is a contact to the website, all of my social, everything through the website. There is a contact form, there is an email, there is a phone number. holisticselfconfidence.com. That's the best way to get to me.
Beautiful. Alexandra Dotcheva, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. It was great to meet you, and what an amazing time we've had. I'm really, really, really blessed that we had an opportunity to meet. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. and the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.